Iowa's Attorney General Brenna Bird joins me now. She is an advocate of Todd Blanche's confirmation as the next Attorney General. Madam Attorney General, I read a letter that you and many other Republican attorneys general sent the Senate Judiciary Committee advocating for Todd Blanche. And the first line of it about substance mentions a lower murder rate in America. But as you know better than I do, murders are prosecuted principally at the local level, sometimes the state level, almost never at the federal level. Why is that a meaningful talking point?
Well, because it matters who our attorney general is at the federal level. And Todd Blanche, he's a fellow prosecutor just like me. And certainly the murder rate matters. We've also seen the number of fentanyl related drug deaths, overdose deaths here in Iowa go down under this administration. I appreciate Attorney General Todd Blanche. He's there for us when we're trying to work together with him between the state and federal level. When I reach out on behalf of Iowa, they pick up and they help us work together to address human trafficking, fraud, violent crime. It's good to have a partner and a prosecutor in the Attorney General's office in D.C.
The letter also mentions transnational criminal organizations, terrorist cartels. It's been my experience that those cases often require years at the federal level to stitch together and to properly prosecute. So if those cases are in the pipeline, doesn't the previous administration deserve at least some credit for that as well?
Well, let me say this. Todd Blanche's record as a prosecutor, it's a record that he's held for a long time, heading up prosecution of violent crimes. It's in his blood. He understands how that works. And what the administration has done to go after the cartels, these transnational criminal organizations, it has helped us tremendously, whether it's reducing the number of overdose deaths here in Iowa or human trafficking, or many of these organizations are also involved in scam operations that rip off Iowans and other Americans from their hard-earned money. So he has definitely had an important role to play in that. I think that has to do with his partnership with our local law enforcement as well. We've really never had a better relationship there than we have right now with the DOJ, including with the FBI director recently coming to Iowa and meeting with all levels of law enforcement, from a police chief who is a one chief police department, that's the only law enforcement in a small town, to our largest departments, just being able to have that partnership and work together and having those resources here in Iowa.
After the confirmation hearing today, Texas Republican John Cornyn met with reporters and told them he's still not convinced that Todd Blanche should be confirmed. He said he still has concerns about the status of the so-called anti-weaponization slush fund and the terms of an IRS settlement with the administration that protects the president, his family, and his businesses from previous audits. If you had a chance, and I'm giving you one right now, to try to persuade Senator Cornyn to support Todd Blanche, first, do you have any concerns that he has? And how would you try to persuade him to back Blanche?
Well, I think a lot of the things we're hearing are some DC noise about some things that have been settled for a while. But what I would tell Senator Cornyn and any other senator who wants to know about Todd Blanche and what it means to be a state attorney general, a prosecutor working together with him, is just that he works well with our state, as he does every state. We're not considered flyover country. When we reach out and have concerns or ideas, ways that we can help, he is a great partner with us in combating the crime that we have in Iowa and that we have around the country. When we asked for more fraud prosecutors, he was all ears, and he is working on helping us get more fraud prosecutors here in Iowa to go after fraud. So that partnership is something that really matters, and that is what keeps America safer. And he also, as a prosecutor, is focused on the rule of law, protecting victims, and keeping Americans safe. It's good to have someone with his background as Attorney General. I found him to be very reasonable, very fair, and very much focused on justice for every American.
At one point in the confirmation hearing today, Todd Blanche said, "I am the president's attorney." Then he immediately corrected himself and says, "I was the president's attorney." I remember when Eric Holder was the attorney general, many Republicans expressed concern about his close personal relationship with President Obama. Do you have any concerns at all about how close the personal relationship and the professional legal relationship was between Todd Blanche as the president's former personal attorney bleeding into his role as a potential future attorney general?
Well, I think Attorney General Todd Blanche's his work, it speaks for itself. You know, we see the greater partnership with the states. We see resources being provided to the states so that we can combat violent crime, that we can go after trafficking, that we can reduce the drugs that are flowing through our communities. All of those things are very real. You look at his background as a prosecutor, and you can see what that means for the rest of America. He understands what we're going through at the local level in the trenches, and he is there as Attorney General to help support that. So I think his work speaks for itself.
The president's going to give a speech tomorrow night about elections, and John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, was asked about that today, and he said, "I'm focused on 2026. 2020 is a settled matter." You agree?
Well, I don't know what the president's going to talk about tonight, but I can say election integrity is important. Every American needs to know that when they go to their polls, their lawful vote will not be canceled out by an illegal vote. There's no acceptable amount of election fraud that should be tolerated in this country. You know, here in Iowa, we have strong election integrity laws. We have voter ID, and we do a good job of upholding election integrity. But I wish the rest of the country had the same strong laws. And it doesn't benefit one party or the other to have election integrity. It's about fairness, the very bedrock of our democracy, for people to know when they go to the polls that their vote counts and that it's not canceled out by an illegal vote. And whether their candidate wins or loses, they can know that it was done fairly and above board. Every American should know that when they vote.
Iowa Attorney General Brenna Bird, I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you.